I would like you all to meet Haven. She's got a pretty rack and a ladder and a flood snorkel. I am so very excited for this. Like, so excited. Welcome back. Haven't done a little vlog in a while. I figured I would give you guys an update because a lot's sort of happened this summer and it is well overdue. So here we go. So first of all, I ended up not selling my Jeep last year. I put another Band-Aid on it. I fixed the transfer case. Yeah, my transfer case exploded when I drove to that art show in Colorado. I ended up missing that art show, which sucked. My dad rented a trailer, picked me up, brought me in my car home, and then at that point it was deciding what to do. I ended up cleaning it out, took pictures, got ready to put it online, just to sell it kind of as a mechanic special if anyone wanted it. And then just the situation we were in financially last summer was a little bit more precarious, and so we decided let's just slap one more Band-Aid on it and just try to see if we can make it through one more year, essentially. And that's basically what we did. So we fixed the transfer case. Definitely some other issues came up over the year. Like I need a new starter, I need a new water pump. I, at this point, basically need to rebuild the entire front differential. It was getting to be time. So a couple months ago, we kind of talked about it and was like, okay, can we get through the summer? Are we able to like just drive that car as minimally as possible? And that's sort of what we've been doing. I really have not been able to take it to any road trips. I was going to borrow my mother-in-law's car for a Colorado art show, but then I ended up getting a kidney stone, which that was a new one. That was not fun. That actually took over pretty much my entire month of June and like half of July. So I was supposed to be in Colorado Memorial Weekend, literally had packed the car full of my art stuff ready to go. That evening just got hit with like 10 out of 10 wave of really sharp flank pain, literally puked and was like shaking and sweating. It was so bad. Dealt with that, ended up in the ER, ended up having to miss that art show, which I was really sad about. And then had to deal with the random waves of pain all week as it traveled down my ureter. As I got to kind of the end of the week, there was a point where I thought that I might have passed it, and then all of a sudden the pain was like gone. And I was like, cool, maybe I passed it. So I kind of waited it out pretty much all week, didn't really have any pain. I actually went for a hike to kind of like test out where I was at physically and was feeling pretty good. And then I got hit with some more pain. And I was like, okay, maybe not. I don't know where it is. The biggest thing that was really the struggle was not knowing whether I had passed it or not, because I was supposed to be in the Pacific Northwest climbing. The other half of my job is literally training mountain athletes, and I had planned to climb Mount Adams with a few of my athletes that were training for it, and I couldn't go because of the kidney stone, and I had 2 different climbs that I was trying to go to and was trying to figure out whether I could physically go or not. So I missed the first one for sure because that was too soon right after the initial kidney stone event. But the second one was the giant question mark. I didn't know if I passed it or not. I wasn't sure what was going on. So I ended up going in for an ultrasound. It was showing that there was still some swelling in my kidney, which is indicative that there was something still there, but we couldn't see the stone anywhere on the ultrasound. And so I was like, well, maybe it is gone and maybe it's just residual swelling. I don't know. I really wasn't sure what to make of it. I was scheduled for a follow-up appointment, but it was after my second scheduled Adams climb. So ultimately I had to make a decision. Was I going to go or not? I decided to try to go. That was an adventure. I woke up that morning, a little bit of flank pain, and took some ibuprofen, they gave me Flomax, which is a drug to kind of help relax the ureter and try to pass it along. So I took that, as well and began trying to drive to Washington. Yeah, so that was hands down the worst pain in my life that day, and it was all day. Pain didn't reduce. I took some Tylenol. Pain still didn't reduce. I was getting nauseous. By the time I got to Boise, I puked. At that point, I knew, okay, something is wrong. Maybe it's still there and it's stuck and it's causing an obstruction, and I can't do this. Like, I need to go home. But I am now 6 hours from my house, but that was very much kind of my halfway point. It was going to be about a 12-hour drive to the town we were going to be staying in before we climbed Adams, and that was my turnaround point. It's like, if I drive any further, like, it's going to be a long drive going home, and I probably shouldn't have even driven that far. But part of me was like debating on whether I was just going to wait out the pain in Washington and kind of decide on my climb from there. But by the time I got to the Boise and I puked, I knew something was wrong. I knew that I probably needed to go back to the emergency room. But being out of state and how insurance works, I had a decision to make. Do I go to the ER in Boise, or do I go to the ER at home and try to drive home in this pain? I chose the latter, and the biggest reason is because I knew that I was probably going to need surgery to get the kidney stone out, and I didn't want to be trapped in Idaho dealing with that, having really no way to come home, and then having to deal with all the out-of-state insurance BS that was going to come with that. So I literally just tried to drive home, and that's what I did. So I made it back to about Twin Falls, where I puked again and was like 10 out of 10 pain, shaking. I was like calling my dad through this process, like asking him his opinion. He's had a few kidney stones. I actually called my urologist office asking her what to do, and she's like, yeah, you need to go to the ER. They're probably gonna have to do an emergency surgery. I was like, great. That being said, we had a very painful drive home. So after Twin Falls, tried to just take more painkillers as best I could, knowing that I still had a ways to drive. But my dad was off work at this point, and he and my brother started driving north, try to meet me basically at the Utah-Idaho border. I ended up meeting them in Brigham City. I puked again between Twin Falls and there, so I like stopped in a Maverick in Brigham and like changed clothes, waited for them, and then at that point I just needed to get to the ER. My brother drove me and my car. Well, this is my husband's car technically. We were using it to do road trips because obviously my Jeep was not capable of doing so. So my brother drove me in the car to the emergency room, and then he drove my car home. Then my husband basically met me at the ER, and I waited 2 hours to be seen, and then it took 2 shots of morphine and a lidocaine drip to bring the pain down. I spent over 18 hours at like insane levels of pain. I have female friends that have gone through labor and have told me that kidney stones are worse. By the time it hit that 10 out of 10 threshold, it was 10 out of 10, 100% the entire time. I thought I was going to pass out. Like, I'm amazed I could even drive as much as I did, really. I shouldn't have been driving. Looking back, like, I really should have turned around 3 hours prior when I first wasn't feeling right before I like even made it to Boise. So, lesson learned. But that was the adventure for sure. I ended up getting it removed like 2 days later, got a stent put in. I had the stent in for about a week and then got the stent taken out, which you're awake for, by the way. Getting it taken out actually wasn't that bad, but the 10 out of 10 pain that followed 2 hours later was. And then I had to take narcotics for a couple days after the stent came out because it was so bad. Yeah, so that sucked. Don't get a kidney stone. Drink your water, guys. Drink your water. I'm pretty sure the whole thing was caused by a pretty significant dehydration event. I have learned my lesson, and we are never going to do that again, because that was like the most horrific pain I've ever experienced in my life. But moving on, after the kidney stone, it was just waiting to heal. I ended up having my first art show of the season, since I missed my initial one, about a week after the stent came out, and I was still kind of in pain. I was still very weak. I was still very low energy. Just from everything my body had been through, I could tell I was just so fatigued and wiped out, like my body had been through hell. I was very much just kind of present at that art show. I will admit that art show didn't go very well. I was so out of it that whole show, which was unfortunate, but at least I was there. And then a couple weeks later, I had a great show, which makes me feel so much better after how rough last year was, especially. And so it was nice to kind of have a win, especially after everything. I started to feel like myself again, physically. Very, very exciting show. And I'm actually on my way right now to drop off a custom order to a client that was at that show. So that's why we are on the road right now, is that beauty in the back. Yeah, we are going to go drop it off to him. So it's exciting. It was a good show, very good show. Looking at the rest of my summer, I have one more show in Colorado, which I was planning to borrow my mother-in-law's car for, but things have shifted a little bit. I'm about to tell you about that in a second. I have one more local show, and that's it. I have a pretty small show scheduled this year. And thinking about next year even, I very much plan to keep it that way. I'll probably do a few more next year, but I do want to keep my show load on the lower end. It just gives me more availability to climb. It gives me a little bit better work-life balance, because last year I did way too many shows and I was so burnt out and exhausted. But the update on the car situation is the fun news for the day. We have found our new haven, and that is going to be her name. I have decided I'm going to name her Haven. I found basically my dream car. I have wanted a 4Runner for a very long time, and I know everybody in Utah has a 4Runner. That's for good reason. It's a good car. It is a great car for 4x4 roads. It is a great car for what I'm doing, for car camping, for hauling my art stuff. It is exactly what I want. It's what I've wanted for a long time. But they're not cheap. And finding one in good condition that's used is also tricky, because most people tend to kind of, run them into the ground, which is totally fair. I found one. It's a 2014, 150,000 miles on it, and it's beautiful. It's in great condition. I am just so excited. I am going to go pick her up this afternoon after I, drop off this pretty piece. And we're going to say goodbye, finally. We're going to say goodbye to Brienne, my Jeep. I named her after Brienne of Tarth from Game of Thrones, because she's a beast. She is a sturdy woman, and that's how she got her name. The reason I have decided to name the 4Runner Haven is for a number of reasons. When I saw it, it just felt like home. The heavens parted and, birds singing. I've looked at a lot of cars this summer. I've even looked at some other 4Runners. This is the first one that has really spoken to me and been like, this is the one. I decided to name her Haven because sitting in the back of that car, it reminds me of being back at summer camp. It feels like coming home. It really does. It feels like I'm home. And so I'm naming it Haven after Glen Haven, Colorado, because that is my home away from home. And so this car is going to be home to me in a lot of ways, because when I'm on the road going to take pictures or going to trails, she will be my home. And I'm excited. I'm so excited. And I'm excited to show you her later. I would like you all to meet Haven. She's got a pretty rack and a ladder and a flood snorkel. I am so very excited for this. Like, so excited. So much more headroom. I'm so excited. I'm going to be putting my platform that I made last year for my Jeep in here. It will fit. I just haven't done it yet. We may even test it out this weekend. Take it for a little spin into the Rockies. We'll see. I am very excited for this. I'm really calm right now, but you should have seen me when I actually bought her yesterday. This is like 24 hours later. I will miss my Jeep. There are a lot of adventures in that Jeep, but I am excited for the new adventures with Haven. Quick glance at the new platform setup. Same platform as in the Jeep. I just actually have more legroom, like a lot more. And there's a lot more space on the sides to put things. I can put stuff on here. I can hang stuff. And look at how much more headroom. So much more headspace. I am so excited. Again, as always, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe for more. I promise I will try to get into better habits of actually making content. See you.